Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for a quick update with regards to the latest update on GT7. It's update 1.13, bringing with it some new cars and apparently a new track, but we're going to talk about that a little bit during this video. So yeah, the three new cars, we've got the new Subaru BRZ, we kind of knew that anyway. It's a Group 3 car, it's not in Group 2, it's in Group 3. And we've got the new Subaru BRZ road car. Also in there is the Suzuki Cappuccino, which is actually going to be going into the used car dealership. So I think that goes in tomorrow based on the information on this screen. New World Circuit events. There is a couple of new events for you to do. There's some that can actually earn you quite a bit of money in there. There's some improvements with basic like title screen stuff changes. Some new scapes. There is some legend car dealerships off there. It's now going to display what's going to be available and stuff like that by the day or so. It's going to give you more information to what's going to be available. With regards to rival AI, they've changed some racing lines, nothing that important. Sport mode, now this is quite important. They have actually made some changes with regards to sport mode. So you now have temperature at the start of the race. You have the all the information displayed there. One thing I will say as well now is rented cars are possible. We're going to show you that during this video. You can rent cars for daily races, which is a massive, massive plus because I think that has got rid of a big negative about the game. So yeah, if you haven't got the money for a car, fear not, they have solved it. There is some physics change in this update as well with regards to physics on the car, which I'm going to show you during the video. It has changed slightly. We're going to go into the detail. You can see there with the car behavior. Replays have now got a very good little feature as well now where you can actually change by lap, like lap 1, lap 2, lap 3, rather than just skipping through. It's actually really handy. So without having the info on of the race info, you can see what lap you're on. And it's much, much better. So that is a nice improvement for quality of life. There's some very basic changes in there as well with regards to force feedback on the Fanatec GT Pro has been changed. I've tried it out today. It feels a little bit stronger. It feels more noticeable. I think a lot of people are going to prefer it. I might need to make some alterations to my settings because at some points it feels like the wheel wants to center a bit too aggressive. But I will make possibly some changes to my description settings. Now, if I do that, I will update my description and we'll go through all that. But yeah, there is some car behavior changes as well with regards to physics. So in general, the FR cars seem to handle really quite nice now. We'll talk about that when we're trying out the new Subaru Group 3 car. Also, the MR cars do seem to be a bit more stable. Now, I say a bit because they are still a little bit sketchy. I still think they need some setup changes in there, but I think setup changes would instantly make them MR cars miles more fun. So yeah, we're going to go through all the stuff here. There's some other changes there. Apparently, it's something to do with oil changes, but I tried this. It says you can't do it more than once after this update if you've already done it, but I tried it and it still lets you do it and charges you the credit. So not sure what's going on there. Maybe there's some sort of glitch or something, but it still let me do it. But let's go into the full details of this update and we're going to show you some of the footage of the new content. Okay, so first up, let's take a look at the new car while driving the apparent new layout. Now, technically this is a new layout, I 100% get that, but I do think a few people might be a little bit disappointed that this is the exact same track that we've already got, basically with a different start line and a different pit exit because it's the endurance layout. We've done this on iRacing. It's not a new track, it's the exact same track but with a different pit exit and a different starting position. Now, the starting position could be very beneficial to the game because it's going to make the standing start a lot more enjoyable at this track because everyone's going to be really close going into the first major braking zone because of the slipstream, and it should make the races a lot closer. However, what I would say is I think they should have just announced this as an update to Spa where different standing start and also adding in the full 24-hour cycle, which is what this has got. It's got the full day to night cycle. We're starting this off in the evening and it's going to go through to pitch black. So it has now got that full nighttime setting, which is amazing. It's great. But I think calling this a new layout was a little bit, I think it's a bit exaggerated by PD, but it is, you know, it is technically a new layout. But I think really we all were expecting something a little bit more like at least a short sprint version of Nürburgring GP, something like that. But I think we've been forward a little bit with that. But yeah, with regards to this car, I will say it's very nice. The one big improvement we're going to talk about why we're in this race now is the improvement with the physics of Group 3 cars and in general the handling of the game. It seems they've secured a lot more grip to the rear of the car, so FR cars now seem to be able to lay that power down a little bit better. Now, the problem we might have is I think this might make the BOP system even worse than it currently is, because the BOPs haven't been changed. So it's going to be interesting how the BOP plays out over the next few weeks. I think they're going to need some major changes with BOP. But yeah, the FR cars do seem to be even more stable now, which could make cars like the Subaru extremely strong. Now, it could also make the RCZ even stronger, because it does actually have an effect on the MR cars as well. I've tried them out, and you can see with this Subaru, I'm not sure how competitive this Subaru, the new Subaru, is going to be. It feels very nice to drive, I have to say. I think you lot are going to enjoy it. It's got a lot of stability. It doesn't feel like a massively power-based car. It feels a little bit more of a handling car. It feels like the cars rotate quite nice when you downshift. It still has that downshift to rotate into the corners sometimes. But yeah, in general, I would say it's an improvement. They're a lot more grippy, these Group 3 cars. I'm on racing hard tyres, and I can plant the throttle down out of the corners a lot more confident now. So I do think it's going to take, again, a little bit of time to get used to these new physics, because it is quite a big change with what they've done with the suspension. It seems like these cars handle a little bit more how you'd expect a GT3 car to handle if it had traction control on. So I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this. A lot of people that have struggled to find traction with cars are going to enjoy this new physics change, and I think it's going to probably please quite a lot of people. It might take a little bit of time to get used to it again now, because I think you can be a lot more aggressive on the game. So yeah, you can actually, it's probably going to suit people who just want to slam that accelerator down out of the exits, but I'm sure we'll all get used to it and everyone will pick up their pace gradually. But yeah, with regards to this car, absolutely amazing. You're going to see the flamethrower. Look at the exhaust flames out the side of the car. One thing I love about this new Subaru is that when you downshift or upshift, massive flamethrower coming out the left-hand side of the car. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. Look at every time we downshift, flames coming out the left. This car is going to be amazing in nighttime settings. But let's see how the BOP plays out. I'm not too sure how the BOP is going to be. But yeah, as you can see with this track, we're going into full darkness now, and it's definitely looking pretty good. So we're going to skip ahead to the full blackness in a second. Let's go through there now. So you can see here, skipping ahead to the last lap in this 4-lap race. It's not into the late stages of midnight, but it's getting pretty much pitch black now. So you can see now at Spa, you've got the full nighttime effect. So it goes through the 24-hour cycle if you left it running for a while. And yeah, this is a positive change. However, how this will be implemented in terms of multiplayer, because our races are very short anyway, it'd be nice if they could start adding an endurance race to take advantage of these 24-hour daytime changes. So even if it was an hour race with like a multiplier that took over like times 10, just so that you went through like from maybe like nighttime into the morning, something like that in a race, just something to actually use these settings in a multiplayer environment. Now obviously in single player you can be able to use these settings as much as you want and have some fun with it. Obviously it's going to add quite a bit to the single player, but I think for the multiplayer they need to start adding something endurance based into the game so we can actually take advantage of these settings, because at the moment a 20-minute race is just not enough to experience the full dynamic time of day and stuff like that, and dynamic weather. But yeah, it looks amazing. I think it looks brilliant. But again, personally, I would have added this and then added another variation of a track. I feel like this is a bit of a cheap shot at getting a track layout, because it's no different. We've had this track. It's just got a dynamic time of day setting now. So yeah, hopefully next month or the month after, we will get a proper new track on the game, because I feel a little bit let down by the track. But the car is brilliant. It drives really well. I think you lot are going to really enjoy it. Okay, so I wanted to bring this up while we're talking about Spa, the new layout. It's the new pit entry. So we're going to go through the pits and just show you how long it takes to go through the pit lane, which is going to be quite excessive to say the least, because on the 24-hour version of the track, you have the double pit stops on garages. So you have all these garages on the right, but then you have the next part, which is probably where you're going to do the pitting on GT7, I would guess. And it's incredibly long. You're looking at probably pit lane loss, I reckon, on this will be up to 50 seconds, depending on what they've done with it, which could mean basically impossible to get a strategy race at Spa if it's around a 20-minute race, because you're not going to want to lose 50 seconds in a pit stop. So people are just going to do insane fuel saving and stuff like that to try and make sure they don't need to pit. But maybe they could do some sort of scalable pit stops that, you know, dynamically change depending on how long the race is. I do believe that could be the answer to the current problem with the pit stops in general in the game. I've said this a few times. Make the pit stop distance change depending on how long the race is. But yeah, on the exit, you also have to drive the exit. So be careful on the exit that you don't go over the white line and pick up a penalty. So that is the full changes of the new layout. We'll move on to the next car. So another new car added is the Subaru BRZ, the newer version. and it's there. You can see I bought that car. That is now in the game, and there is another new car, the Suzuki. However, that is not going to be purchasable until tomorrow, so make sure you check that out tomorrow in the used car garage. You will be able to buy that if you want to buy it. So that is your new cars for this update. And if you're looking for prices, the new Subaru Group 3 car is 450,000, as you can see there. So 450,000, same as the other Group 3 cars. So again, pretty reasonable price. You should be able to get that, no problem at all. So let's now go and give the MR car a quick test with the new physics on the game. So the perfect thing for this, I believe, would be taking the Audi R8 around Deep Forest in the circuit experience, because this was a nightmare before the update. But one thing I'm going to say straight away is they have definitely improved the MR cars the way they are in terms of how drivable they are. How this will compare with how good other cars was, though, is going to be interesting, because I think the RCZ now could be insanely good. But this car still feels very light. You're going to feel it straight away. It almost feels like there's no weight on the car. I do think they need to do something with regards to the force feedback for certain cars, because this car feels very light. It doesn't feel like there's any weight on it at all. But what I will say is it's a lot more drivable. You can get on the power a little bit easier. Still has moments where it wants to slide out. You see as I come through here, hit the curb a little bit too aggressive, but it's a lot more catchable now. Doesn't, like before, we probably would have been in the barrier there sliding off, but now you can actually catch it. Still a little bit snappy on the throttle, but in general a lot easier to drive. And I think it's going to make this circuit experience a lot easier for people to get, if I'm brutally honest, because although it's not particularly hard to get now, I think it's going to make it a lot easier for everyone. Now, base this off is, obviously, we're basing this off of no BOP at the moment, because there's no BOP on. So when they have BOP, cars change a little bit, but I'm sure in general, even with BOP on, this car is going to be a lot more drivable than what it was before. So yeah, you can see a little bit more planted on the throttle, rotates without that snappy weight transfer now. So they have, whatever changes they've made is going to be affecting every car, so it could make the BOP really unbalanced. That's the only worry I have at the moment. I do think it's going to need a major BOP change, but you can see there, quite easily getting the gold on that circuit experience now. So next up, we can see we have ability to rent a car in any daily race. What it seems like in certain daily races. I'm not sure if this will be every week, but you can see you have the full selection of Group 2 cars that you can rent out for the race. And as far as I can tell, it doesn't charge you any sort of credits. So yeah, this is actually interesting, because it's opening up the multiplayer a lot more to everyone else who don't want to be spending credits. So I think this is a very, very positive move, because some people just didn't want to buy the cars because they didn't want to waste their credits. But now you can jump in, go ahead, get in the McLaren GTR, and that is problem solved. And I think this is a very, very positive change that PD have done, because I don't think you should be restricting your online part of the game based on how many credits people have got and whether they've got a certain car that's OP or not. You know, now we know that any car can be used. If you know, the Mercedes looks like the car to be used for time trial this week, so everyone can get a lap in that Mercedes, and I think this is much more fair that they have done this to the game. So that is a very good move by PD. I think it's going to bring a lot more people online, and hopefully that means the lobbies will be slightly more competitive now, because I think a lot more people will be jumping online knowing that they can just rent a car, get in, race. It's got the tyres on there already. They don't need to buy tyres. And yeah, overall, very positive change by PD. So what I thought I'd do next is, we had a gift ticket obviously available, 4-star ticket, because we did that race in the Subaru. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to see if they've changed the ratio of good prizes on the game. And what you're about to see here is, have they? No, they haven't, because I was looking at the initial thought thinking I could win something big here, but we won 10,000 credits from that one. Out of all the options, it was the lowest amount, and yeah, it seems like not much has changed in that regard. I also decided to test out the oil change like we mentioned, so I did an oil change, because it said on there that it wouldn't allow you to do an oil change if you didn't need one on your car. So I did an oil change, went back in, and did an oil change again to just test it out to see if it had let it, and yeah, it just did it. So not too sure whether I'm doing something wrong, but it does look like, from what they said, that nothing's changed there. So overall impressions of the update are pretty positive. I think it's going to be interesting how it plays out with regards to BOP and stuff. But overall, pretty good changes with some of the stuff they've implemented. However, there's still a lot of issues they haven't solved in terms of lobbies, as far as I can tell. Lobbies have no new options, really. The only thing that's been added to the lobby is the same thing that's been added to the daily races and manufacturer, etc. Is that you're going to get a temperature that tells you what the temperature is on the track that you're at. So it's going to give you some information there with regards to how the track should be performing. It'll be interesting how that plays out in terms of what gives the better like race pace and tire and qualifying pace and stuff like that. But at the moment, that is the only real change. I went into lobbies. There's nothing new in there, and yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any other options been added. So I will test these lobbies out maybe on a stream to see if they're running a little bit better, because there could have been some background changes that we're not aware of. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like anything major. There's still bugs that have been no BOP change as far as we can tell yet. Maybe they're waiting for the new physics to have an effect for a few weeks and then they'll implement a BOP change. But as at the moment, the BOP problem seems to be possibly even worse now with this new change. But again, we're going to have to be patient and wait for the BOP to come, because it needs to come soon. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it gave you a quick insight into what's changed on the game in terms of basic changes and stuff like that. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscription button and hit the like button, and I'll see you for more videos and streams in the future. Thanks again for watching, everyone.